Hello and welcome to Unity in Our Community. That is our beautiful song by the Creative Music Society and it is called Unity. I do have permission from them to use it. Anyway, welcome on this lovely sunny afternoon. I hope wherever you are doing really well today. And I'm excited to welcome Sinnead from the Birth Partner Project today to talk all about this incredible project. Hi, Sinnead.
Hi, Jess. Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. Thank you so much for coming in today and talking to us on Unity in Our Community. So let's talk all about this amazing project. And I will say that what I know about it is you support women who are refugees or asylum seekers who don't have any partner with them while they're giving birth. That's right.
Yeah.
What an amazing project. Just start with like how this came about, like, or how long it's been going, or it runs in Bristol as well, or
there's a similar project in Bristol,
okay,
but we're just Cardiff based.
You're just Cardiff based. Yep. Okay.
So there were student midwives over 6 years ago who noticed that a lot of women were giving birth alone in the hospital, and a lot of these women were sanctuary seekers. So we use that term as kind of like an umbrella term for refugee women and people seeking asylum. And they noticed that a lot of these women were completely alone during labour and birth, and started this project, and it was entirely volunteer run for many years, training volunteers to simply support women through their labour and their birth. We became a registered charity in 2018, and for the last 2 years we've gained more staff. So there's currently a team of 4 of us, and we all work pretty much part-time. And so the charity really relies on our dedicated volunteers.
Well, I mean, I can't imagine it myself, because I was thinking about it and I was thinking, wow, what an incredible thing to do. Like, just wow, you know, to be there at that amazing moment, but also to make sure that, you know, there is somebody there.
Yeah.
So you kind of like, are you slightly, I mean, what is your role then if you're there at the birth?
Yeah, so we train volunteers. It's quite an extensive training. And there's a DBS check, and we do take into consideration like other, you know, past skills. There's an interview process as well. So that part is quite rigorous. And then once you do get started with us, you'll work in a team of 3 to 4 volunteers, and you'll meet women in the later stages of their pregnancy. So from around usually 34 weeks. We do get very late referrals sometimes. It's just the way things go. But ideally 34 weeks. So there's a few weeks to have a few visits, build that trust, get to know what's important to them when they're giving birth, and just to get to know them as a person. And then we create a rota. So for 2 weeks either side of the due date. This rota consists of 8-hour shifts between the 3 to 4 volunteers. And that means that once this woman's in labour, or birthing person goes into labour, the rota kicks in, and she'll have someone with her all through that early labour and established labour and through giving birth. And volunteers will work in shifts to make sure that she's never on her own, and also that they're working, I guess, in a healthy capacity. So the shifts are just 8 hours, as I said, and then mums will have visits if they're still in hospital for a few days, and we continue that support 8 weeks postpartum as well with weekly visits.
Wow, that is so incredible. So I just wanted to ask you, like, when you're talking there, and I'm thinking, are you there, like, it's both emotional, obviously, like emotional support, and it's basically, is it also like medical support as well, like advocacy, or does that not come into it?
Yeah, so it's an entirely unmedical role. It is, as you say, an emotional support, in that it's almost like a befriending service, but it's also a lot of practical support, and whether that's practical as in, you know, holding someone's hand when they're giving birth, or getting them food and drink, helping to support sourcing items for the baby that they might need, helping with discharge, so making sure that there's a taxi called and when they get home they're comfortable and set up, they have a cup of tea, there's food in the fridge, just the kind of things that your sister or friend would do for you if you didn't have a partner when you were giving birth. But as you say, there is a level of advocacy involved, so we do really try as much as possible to talk about informed consent and supporting women to ask questions that they might not think to ask questions about with their midwives, and to just go over things, so making sure that things they've been told or recommended, that they're really clear on their options and that they feel comfortable and know their rights and entitlements to ask questions and to ask for alternatives if they need to as well. So like I said, it's very much like you'd have your midwife visit, maybe afterwards you'd kind of debrief with a friend or your sister, and other questions would come up in that time. So for women who don't have that support system, having a birth partner that they can have those conversations with means that they're able to go back to their midwives, and if there are any kind of knowledge gaps, they can fill that in.
Wow, it sounds like such an incredible thing to be able to do. I mean, it sounds like, you're there at that special moment. I mean, how do you find it? What's your experience been like?
What I realized is that it's every single person, every single person is so unique, and so every birth is really, really different. And with the support, it can be that women are facing a lot of different barriers. Maybe there's issues with their housing, issues with their asylum claim. Maybe they don't speak any English. So there's lots of different things that could be creating additional barriers in their lives. And then there are women who maybe already have a routine and quite comfortable housing. So it really varies so greatly from person to person. What I find is really important is establishing that trust early on. Letting people know that we are independent, we're not part of the government or the NHS or anything like that. We're very much a grassroots project. So that's quite important.
Yeah, I was going to ask how you cope with the language barrier as well, because obviously that's quite hard, because I've been a family support worker with the Syrian refugee resettlement program, and I had somebody there all the time with me who spoke fluent Arabic, so we could always explain to the families, what was going on and what we were doing. Yeah,
that sounds ideal. For us, we work with an interpreter service, so we can phone them up and have a 3-way call with an interpreter, or if we're in the room with the mum, have that interpreter on loudspeaker. In the hospital, you are entitled to have an interpreter line at all times, and so the NHS have to provide that for you, even in like your GP appointments. So again, it's that advocacy
language line.
Making sure that language line is being used. But we're on the search for more volunteers at the moment, and really encourage people with lived experience and the ability to speak multiple language is so important for us, because women and birthing people can express themselves so much better when it's in their language. It must
be really scary as well. Like if you're on your own, you're in a strange country, you're giving birth. That must be so scary. So Absolutely. It must be so fantastic just to have somebody there to lean on. I mean, I can't imagine that myself. Like if that had happened to me, I mean, I had like family around me. I had like my son's father, my sister, and obviously I know the NHS, and so that I can imagine that must be like so welcome, like from that lady who's giving birth, because it's kind of a magical thing, but it's also can be kind of scary as well.
Absolutely. I think people with support systems who have grown up in this country can feel isolated in birth, unfortunately, and that's the reality for a lot of people. So doing this in another country, going through an asylum claim, and having a lot of systems that kind of inflict harm basically on people seeking sanctuary and make it very difficult for them to just live fruitful lives. So these women do have a lot of barriers against them. And what we hear so often from our volunteers is, I don't feel like I've done much, I was just there. But the feedback that we get from women is that it makes a huge difference to them. It feels like they have family with them. And we stay in touch. They attend our drop-in on a Wednesday lunchtime, so many of them. And we get to see women often who were very nervous in pregnancy and maybe shut down. You know, some of them would be quite traumatized. They've gone through a lot getting here often. And so being able to witness not just them having peaceful births and happy births and safe births, but going on to really flourish as confident mothers who understand their rights and entitlements and are making friends and integrating into the community is just so rewarding.
That must be incredible to watch, actually, and know that you've made a difference to that person. And I think those things are just so important in our communities, because that's where you can actually make real changes to somebody's life, like for the better.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, I have been at the forums as well about racism in the NHS and stuff, and perhaps you might see something as well that you can pull up, when you're there, like say, or like you're kind of like protecting that person as well in a way.
Yeah, there's definitely a level to it of wanting to protect that birthing space and being informed about what needs to happen for, physiology to work. People need to be calm and relaxed and feel safe. And if they're not necessarily getting that from their care provider, we do know the NHS are so stretched. And as you say, there are issues with individuals and systematically there, but if they're not feeling comfortable, that can hinder their birth. And so having a birth partner allows them to have someone that they can trust and know that, they're there entirely for them. They're not there as an employee. I think that also makes a difference. But these women are so resilient and so incredible, and all women are already empowered. Sometimes they just need to be reminded, and sometimes we need to just get out of their way. And for people who have so many kind of barriers against them, creating a space where they can just be women and be mothers without judgment and just walking beside them is, really rewarding.
Wow. It sounds incredible. Right, I'm going to play a tune now, and we will be back after News and Weather, and we'll talk more about the specific role a bit more and kind of the people that you are looking for. So we will be back after the News and Weather and this tune. You're listening to Unity in our community, and we are with the Birth Partner Project in Cardiff. All right, we'll be back soon.